Hi, welcome to Enter the Bunker, where we launch you into thriving. Each week we talk about a different virtue that can be used as a building brick to build your own personal bunkers. We share personal stories, as well as tips and tricks to help you thrive instead of survive. So sit down, relax, and enter the bunker.
Welcome to Enter the Bunker's Part 2 of Humanity. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Jonathan.
And we're going to go over some ways to be more humane in your life and in the world.
More humane.
More humane. Okay, so we have 3 things here. The first one being bring human moments to your daily routine.
Okay.
2, meditate on what's distracting you.
Oh.
And 3, be curious and celebrate the differences. 2 has me pondering.
Okay.
Well, just because when I think meditate on what's distracting you, I guess the key word there is meditate. But when I see that, I'm like, stress on what's distracting me, take over my brain. I feel like that's what would happen. But the meditate's the key word there.
Right.
Okay. Number 1, bring human moments to your daily routine.
Mm-hmm.
How often do you engage with the person taking your order in the drive-thru? Probably not often. These types of interactions tend to be more of a transaction. But the person taking your order is also human, so treat them that way. Engage for a second. Ask how they are. It goes a long way to making people feel better. Above all else, treat them with respect and like people. They are more than just the person who will give you your food. This goes for any other people you may meet throughout your day, from service workers to shopping to someone stopping you in the same aisle. Give a smile. They are free and priceless. Yeah. It's funny because I feel like just the other day, where I forget what actually happened, but somebody was really friendly and we had a conversation, and then the next place that I went, I started the conversation, and I was kind of thinking wow, this is a good day. Everyone, I wonder if I'm giving off a positive vibe, because everyone was just kind of seeming to be wanting to talk. It was, I don't know how to explain it, but wherever I went, people were wanting to start a conversation. I don't know if I was giving off the vibe or if they were giving off the vibe, but either way, whoever I was talking to, we were always feeding off each other. And it's funny because I actually stopped to think about it. So that's what's making me think about this.
Yeah. So bring human moments to daily routine.
Yeah.
So there's actually specific things that I do to make sure that I do this.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to fast food. Everybody goes to fast food. There's lots of opportunities there to be nice to the people who are serving
the order
you,
taker,
right?
The server.
So even when I'm placing the order, right, all I got is this voice over the thing, right? So I will just be like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I'll be like, or if it's a guy, I'll be like, "Good day, sir," and talk to them with respect, and then of course at the end of the order, whatever it might be, I'll be like, and that's all, thank you so much, and I'll talk like that, just not that's it, I see others and that's how they talk all the time and those things, right? So this is just an opportunity to be able to talk to them like people, and it's not hard, just to just that little bit.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, once I get to the window, the first thing I try to do is I try to get a look at their name tag.
Name tag, yeah.
Right?
I knew you were going to say.
I can't, and sometimes it's really difficult because they're far away, or it's just not good lighting, or sometimes they just don't even wear it right, and I can't see it. But I will make a specific, that's the first thing I'm looking for. I'm just what's your name tag? What's your name tag? And they might, for girls, they probably think I'm just looking at their chest, right? But it's just I'm just trying to look at your name tag, and then finally when I catch it, I'll be just oh, okay, it's Sarah, or something, right? And then of course it's as they're giving me, it's oh, thank you so much, Sarah,
I used to love when people said my name.
Okay, so it works, So there you go. So I just I make sure that I say their name if I have the opportunity to get that name tag, and that's all it takes, just that little bit, because for people first to acknowledge them by their names, and to be able to even talk to them, just say sir and thank you, and
add a little
these just seem self-evident, but a lot of people just don't do it.
right. You reminded me of a story, like, and everything. I'm gonna add some pep in your voice.
Yeah.
Because my brother made fun of me when we were younger. I probably had just got my driver's license. Don't even know if he had his yet. But he would often make fun of me and be like, "Why does your voice change when you order food?" Like we'd go through a drive-through and I guess my voice, he'd be like, "Hi, my name's Kelly," and he would like imitate me and like put on like this high-pitched sound. And I'm like, I don't know, but it's so funny because like I was just doing that was an automatic thing for me.
Right.
I just did it. I also worked fast food at the time.
Right.
So maybe I was a biased, but
it would just like turn on that part of your brain and
yeah,
that's it.
And
It's
maybe
like,
so maybe I put it on my order taking voice versus my ordering voice, but maybe it should be the same because yeah, I know if somebody's like, "Can I take your order?" versus, "Hi, can I take your order?" Like that's a total different
it is a
approach.
difference. And you know, and yeah, sometimes you get that and
You kind of want to give it back, or you do by accident.
for a lot of people, I'm sure that's what happens.
Yeah.
But when I hear that, I do try to actually particularly be
Extra
friendly with them, just to be like, you know, like, hey, sounds like you're in a funk.
Yeah.
Maybe you need somebody who's just going to be friendly to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's so hard. It's so easy to do that. Same thing. I mean, if you're going shopping or just anywhere, right? And that's what this can do for that building brick is that if you just take that moment to actually acknowledge them as people, and even like you said, you found yourself suddenly carrying on conversations like, you know, hey, how you doing? It's like, you know, oh, like, and some, even I notice even if I'm in a situation where I'm like face to face with somebody, I'll look for things that I can kind of notice, and then I'll just be like, you know, oh, looks like you're kind of tired today, you know, or I'll say just something like that, and it just sparks something, and then they'll start to tell me what's going on. It's just like, or if
give
it's really,
someone a compliment.
yeah,
Too.
yeah. So just so they feel like they're actually engaging with people, right? And it's not that hard.
And like I said, they're going to go to the next person because it's going to give them a feel good moment. So that it's going to carry forward. It's going to be a snowball effect.
Yeah, it pays forward.
Yeah. Okay. Number 2 is meditate on what's distracting you. The key to making people feel like they matter is to be present. Obviously, distractions can cause you to be less present and in fact make you look like you do not care about the person you're with. Take the time to meditate on what is or may distract you. Deal with it and be present when you are interacting with people. So I can say that even this morning, when we recorded our first podcast, I was very distracted in my head and I had a hard, we do the podcast every week and I had a hard time like getting the ball going because I had other things going on in my head, but I literally said to you, I was like, guys, I need 2 minutes. I need to take a couple deep breaths. And once I did, I got back into it.
Right.
So I guess that was like my meditating
on
it. Cause I'm like, okay, drop whatever's in there. Like be present in the moment. Like you have a job to do right now. And this is what you have to do. You have to deliver this.
Yep.
So yeah.
Another thing, I mean, in terms of like, if there's anything, if there's distractions, it's people's phones.
Yes.
Right? Like how often is it that, you know, you might be talking to somebody and then they pull their phone out, you know, and then you just don't feel like you're important anymore. Right.
Right.
And I'm guilty of that. Everybody's guilty of that at some point. But if you can just
acknowledge
be
it,
mindful of that and actually realize like to give your full attention whenever you can, then people then feel like they're actually being heard. They feel like they're actually having connection. Yeah. Right.
So that's something I try very hard actually with is when I'm talking to people I think we had, we talked about it in a previous building brick probably a few months ago, but it's ever since then that I've been like very like, present on what I'm doing when being present when I'm talking to somebody. Cause I think I always was before, but now I'm like, thinking about it, and thinking about it makes you even better at the building brick. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Number 3 was be curious and celebrate our differences. Viva la difference. It literally means long live the difference. Everyone is different in their own way, some in appearance, some in thought, but everyone is still human. It's these differences that allow for new things to emerge. Life would be boring if we were all the same. So learn about our differences, celebrate them. Only then can we truly bring humanity back into the world. So just love one, love all.
So to be curious is really what this is about, right? And
Mhm.
so, um, especially, I mean, in the last episode, I talked about when I traveled and
Yes.
dealing with people who, uh, when we talk a different language, right? But there was always curiosity about like, what's it like for this? What's it like for that? And
Oh gosh, yeah.
I find that, not to be ageist or anything, but I find older people are better at this. I don't find younger people to be too curious these days.
Really?
Yeah, just like,
I was thinking the opposite sitting
I
here.
I just think about, it seems like every time I've had some kind of conversation, uh, like it would be an older person. It's just like, what's that all about? It's like, what's this blockchain thing? What's this Bitcoin thing? Like it would be like
Yeah,
these kind of
yeah.
conversations, and it's mostly older people that are
Men
asking
or women?
that would take in the men or women.
I'm just curious.
Uh, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've had inquiries from both.
From both, yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't know, for you sitting here, I was thinking men just went to my head. That's why I asked the question for
yeah,
sure.
no, I've had no, well, yeah, face to face. I mean, I haven't had a lot face to face, but even online, I've had
It's
inquiries from business women that I
yeah.
know, and then I've got other men who have asked me questions. Yeah, it's been pretty much across the board.
So I guess because I was sitting here thinking the complete opposite of you, that I think younger people are way more curious than
Oh,
older people.
okay.
So I guess maybe my thought is more going, I'm not thinking so much of the curiosity that they're having, but I'm thinking of their openness after learning the curiosity. But then you have to be open to want to be curious, right?
Yeah, and are you actually celebrating the differences?
What?
Are you celebrating the differences? Like, it's what we're
Right.
talking about here, is
Right.
having a curiosity, wanting to understand the differences,
That's what, yeah.
and then being able to accept them, to not just accept them, to actually like appreciate them,
Celebrate
right?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've done a bit of a disservice in terms of, like, in the past, you look at the way that differences have been portrayed as something we must tolerate.
Right.
And the word tolerate
It's
is
not a
very
good word.
different than accepting or
Yes.
being or even celebrating,
Yeah.
right?
I love that word, celebrate, the way it's
And
being
it's
used.
just because, and so the whole idea of tolerate means that, well, what they're like, you're inferring something like, well, what they're doing is wrong.
Right.
Yes, it's really terrible, but you gotta tolerate it, right? Like, it's just like it just like automatically just serves to keep things separate,
Right.
right? It even puts you in a bad mindset. It's just like, well, there's something else I gotta tolerate.
I know. I was
Like,
just thinking that. I'm
yeah.
thinking that sitting. Yeah. Yeah.
So so this is kind of like what's been portrayed a lot in a lot of social circles. I find, anyways, been my experience
Mhm.
here in Canada,
Yeah.
and just looking at the media in the U.S. and everything else.
Yeah.
It's always been about, well, we got to tolerate one another. It's like, that's not going to do it, right? Let's understand each other. Let's talk. Let's actually, like, learn what the differences are and celebrate them, because guess what? That they're coming from a completely different place,
Yeah.
right? Our cultural diversity, the way that we grow up, everybody has a story,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So why can't we be able to be just curious about these stories,
Yeah.
learn from them,
Yeah.
right? And then just appreciate them for what they
Yeah.
are, right?
Yeah.
And it's just, and that's what being human's all about. I mean, like, that's what we're doing here, right?
Yeah.
So it's really being curious and being able to celebrate
Mhm.
are like if you can make that at the forefront,
Mhm.
then your building brick is it's gonna help you with building that building brick that much more, because you're not in that, well, we gotta tolerate our differences mindset. It's like, well, that's, and sometimes things get left off with, well, that's your opinion,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And it's just something I'll have to tolerate,
Yeah.
right? Why, like, if you can go a step further and then just actually say, like, okay, well, where's that come from? Like, tell me more, like, how did you arrive at that,
Yeah.
and then just be able to, like, really dig and be curious, then you can actually start to get some understanding. It's just like, oh, well, that's where that came from,
Yeah.
it's like, and then sometimes you still, it doesn't mean you have to agree with it,
Right.
obviously,
Yeah.
but sometimes you get to a point where you're like, okay, I can understand how they went on this journey and that's how they arrived there,
Mhm.
rather than being like, oh, and we talked about the labels again, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're this and this, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're one of those, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, they're left, they're right,
Yeah.
it's just like, so all these labels, that everybody wants to thrust on everybody else, so that we're all in these nice little categories, just end up falling apart when you're able to be curious and able to actually try to understand things,
Mhm.
rather than, well, we got to tolerate these things, right?
Yeah.
it's not good enough, because like at some point you only tolerate so much.
I was
Right.
just thinking.
And then
that,
you
yeah.
start to, and then at some point you're
Break.
like, well, now we've got to do something about it. Right.
Yeah.
And that's when everything goes really bad.
Yeah. Like, yeah.
So-
Definitely.
So we want to celebrate our differences, be curious,
Yeah.
spark those conversations like we talked about.
Yeah.
Right. And
It
that's
feels
where it comes
good.
from. Yeah.
It feels good. Like the actually beginning of the first of this episode said, give a smile. They're free and priceless.
There you go. Yeah.
There we go.
Now that you say give a smile, they're free and priceless. Remember McDonald's?
Has free smiles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to be one of those guys who would ask for, I was like, oh, and I'll have a free smile, please.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
They
and
used to have it on their menu.
it used to be a menu item.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Yeah. They shouldn't have taken it away, really.
Yeah. I don't know
McDonald's,
why
you're
they did.
dehumanizing us here.
All right. Well, that was great. Thank you for tuning in with us for Humanity on Part 2. Stay tuned for next week is accountability.
Oh,
That's a good one.
be sure you're accountable. We'll see you there.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Enter the Bunker. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, where you can share your story and also look at behind the scenes of how we make our podcast. You can watch the video version of this podcast on YouTube by simply searching Enter the Bunker. Tune in next time as we launch into thriving.